All right, let's talk about network security. We're going to unpack a huge shift that's happening right now. Basically, why the old ways we used to protect our digital stuff are, well, falling apart. And more importantly, what's coming next. So let's just dive right in. I mean, you know that feeling, right? Trying to connect to your work network? It's like going through airport security. You've got multiple logins, the connection's kind of slow, you're getting checked and rechecked. It's a lot. And for decades, that whole complicated, honestly frustrating process was seen as the best way, the only way, to keep a company's data safe. But the world's changed, and that old model, it's just not cutting it anymore.
So, to really get why things are changing, we have to take a quick step back and remember what the internet actually is. At its heart, it's just this huge, open, public space. The best way to think about it is like a global highway system, connecting billions and billions of devices. It's literally a network of networks, all of us connected to everything else. Okay, so that leads us right to the big question, the main challenge. If the internet is this giant public highway, how does a company build its office right on the side of it, without all the noise and chaos and danger of the highway just spilling right through the front door? How do you keep your private stuff safe in a world that's so public?
Well, for a very, very long time, the answer was something we now call the castle-and-moat model. And honestly, it's the perfect way to picture how traditional network security used to work.
The thinking behind it was super simple, really. All the important stuff, the company's treasures, like its servers, its data, all the computers, they were all physically inside the office. That's the castle. And the big, bad, dangerous internet, that was kept firmly on the outside, separated by a big protective moat.
And standing guard at the only way in, the drawbridge, was the firewall. A firewall is basically a bouncer for your network. It's this piece of hardware and software that looks at everything trying to get in or out. And it's a really strict gatekeeper, deciding, okay, you can come in, or nope, you're blocked. So here's the key thing to remember. Everything, and I mean everything, had to pass through that one single, heavily guarded checkpoint. The firewall was the absolute authority. As our source text puts it, only authorized traffic was allowed to pass, period. Nothing got in, nothing got out without it say so. It was simple, it was strong, and you know what? For a long time, it worked really, really well. But of course, a problem started to creep in. What happens when the castle is actually a little too secure? I mean, what about your own people, your trusted knights, who are out in the world and need to get back inside? Yeah, exactly. I'm talking about people like traveling salespeople or anyone working from home. These are trusted employees, but they're on the outside of the castle walls. So how do you get them back in to access their files and do their jobs without just, leaving the drawbridge down for any bad guys to wander in? Well, the answer to that was the VPN, the virtual private network. And to stick with our metaphor, the best way to picture a VPN is like a secret underwater tunnel. It starts on the outside, goes right under the moat, and pops up safely inside the castle. It's this totally private, secure passageway that's built right through the public internet. So how is this secret tunnel actually built? Well, it's basically a 4-step digital handshake. First, your computer and the network agree on a secret code that only they know. Then, they use that code to scramble or encrypt all your data. After that, a digital seal is added, kind of like a tamper-proof sticker, to make sure nothing's been messed with along the way. And finally, both sides have to prove they are who they say they are. It's this whole process of building trust that makes the secure connection possible. Okay, so for years, this system worked pretty well. You had the castle, the moat, and these secret VPN tunnels for remote workers. But then the world of work completely changed, and suddenly, those castle walls started to feel like they were just dissolving. And this comparison right here just lays it all out perfectly. Think about it. The old way, users were in the office, the apps were in the company's data center. So building a big wall, a strong perimeter, made total sense. But the new way, users are literally everywhere, at home, at a coffee shop, on a train, and the apps they're trying to use, they're not in the office anymore. They're in the cloud. The whole idea of a perimeter, that single edge of the network, it's just gone. And trying to shoehorn this new reality into the old model, it's a disaster. It just creates a ton of problems. For one, it's super inefficient. Imagine you're working from home and you want to use a cloud app like Salesforce. With the old model, your internet traffic has to go all the way back to the office castle first, get checked by the firewall, and then go out to the cloud. We call that hairpinning, and it's like driving 20 miles in the wrong direction just to get on the highway. It creates this huge bottleneck that slows everything down for you.
And what do people do when things are slow? They find a way around it, maybe by turning off the VPN. And that just punches giant holes in your security. So, if the castle walls are gone and the moat has run dry, what do we do now? Well, the answer is simple, but it's profound. Security has to leave the castle too. We need a totally new way of thinking, a new architecture built for the world we actually live in today. And this really is the fundamental idea behind modern network security. If your people are everywhere and your applications are everywhere, then your security had better be everywhere too. You can't force everyone to come back to one central checkpoint. Instead, the security has to go out and meet the users right where they are. This new approach has a name, and you're going to hear it a lot. It's called SASE, which stands for Secure Access Service Edge. And what it does is it basically merges networking and security together into a single service that's delivered from the cloud. It's all based on a few really smart principles. First, access is based on your identity, who you are, not your location. Second, the security itself lives in the cloud, just like all the apps you're using, so it's always on and available. And finally, and this is key, protection is applied right at the edge, as close to you, the user, as possible. It's not a small tweak, it's a complete rethink of how we stay connected and safe. Which really leaves us with this final big question to think about. If your network's edge isn't a place anymore, if it's now everywhere and anywhere a user connects from, then where does your security live? The whole point of new ideas like SASE is to answer that question by making security just as mobile and distributed as we are. And figuring that out, well, that is the single biggest challenge and the future of cybersecurity. Thanks for joining me.